Welcome. My name is Peggy, and this is my channel, Bespoke Ability Sewing. I'm so glad you're here today. I have my third make of my Make 9 2024, and I'm thrilled with it. I absolutely love it, and I'm so glad I finally used this fabric. So as I've mentioned before, I've never done a Make 9 before, but I'm using it this year as hopefully an impetus to work through my extensive stash. And so far I am motivated, so we'll see how it goes. But today I revisited another favorite pattern. I've made it twice before, both times last summer. The first one I did was a dress that I made for my daughter, sleeveless, and she wore it while pregnant. Well, she was pregnant when I made it. It's not a maternity dress, and she wore it until it just got too cold here. But I think when she stops nursing, she'll be able to wear it again. It's very pretty. And then I made a top for myself also. So this time I made the top again. I definitely had fabric limitations, so that was all I could eke out of the fabric. Last time when I made the top for me last summer, I added a button placket to the front yoke and buttons that I made. Those buttons, by the way, were using a tutorial from Michelle Sews Again, and I will link that below. But I didn't have enough fabric this time to make a button placket, and I figured the fabric was busy and it was just as well, so I didn't. And the other changes I've made, well, nothing else to the top from what I did last year, and I will link that below. But and the sleeve on it isn't the sleeve that comes with the pattern. The pattern, by the way, is McCall's 7757, and this is a pattern from 1995, and it was a hidden gem in my stash. I've owned it since 1995, and I really like it. Now, Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room brought this back to my attention. I think she did 3 versions of this dress last summer, all sleeveless. And I thought that pattern looked familiar, so I looked, and sure enough, I had it. So I made it for my daughter first, and then I made a top for me. Now for the sleeve, I didn't particularly want the sleeve that came with this. So I used, like last week, I used the Atelier Jupe Zoey blouse sleeve, to which I added to the sleeve head of the 7757 pattern. And I added a little bit of length to it, and I eliminated the hemband and used bias tape and elastic instead. So my hope for this top was to be able to use a more billowy sleeve. So I traced out my sleeve pattern, I added a little length to it, and then I did the slash and spread method just to give it a little more volume. But I had fabric limitations. So let me tell you a bit about this fabric. It's Nani Birdseye in pink, and I absolutely love this. I just love it. But it is not very wide. The website says it's 42 inches wide, but after washing it and drying it, I'd say it's more like 40-ish. Also, this fabric has, I think, a 3/4 inch selvage on one side and about a 2.5 inch selvage on the other side. So there's not that much usable width. And thank goodness I did pre-wash and dry it, because it's a half yard shorter than it was. I bought 3 yards and I have 2.5 yards of this. And I used just about every last bit. I couldn't even make a scrunchie out of what remains. And, really, that's what I want. I want to work through these fabrics and use them up. And luckily, it all worked out. I did place all my pattern pieces on the fabric first just to make sure. I didn't want to cut anything out and then find out I didn't have enough. So, at any rate, because of the lack of width of this fabric, I couldn't use the sleeve pattern that I had just created because it was too wide for a double width of the fabric. And yes, I could fit it on a single width, but I didn't have enough fabric to do 2 single widths for the sleeves, and I wanted 2 sleeves. So I just went back to the same sleeve that I used last summer. At any rate, this sewed up really well. It's very lightweight. It's a cotton double gauze and no problems whatsoever sewing it, except that it was narrow. But easy to make, and I really like it. I envision wearing this with white jeans. Not right now because it is still cold outside. In fact, that's why I'm not wearing it right now. I was just too cold. I just took photos and said, no, can't do it. Any rate, I love this fabric. Just love it. Do you get that? I love it. In fact, I'm thinking about maybe getting some more. I don't think you can find this as easily as I found this a couple years ago. At the time, I bought mine from the French Seam, which I believe is in Indianapolis, Indiana, but I bought it online through their shop. And I just looked. They don't have it in the pink colorway, but they have it in yellow. So I'll link that below. But the Kokka website does have it in the pink, and I will link that below. At any rate, I'm thinking maybe getting some to make in the pink to make a top for my daughter. And then there's sort of a blue aqua color that is just divine. And that's what I really might have to buy. I don't know what I'd make from it yet, but I would buy more fabric this time to allow for the shallow width and also for the shrinkage. But like I say, it worked out and I love it. So there's not a whole lot to say about this. I sewed it all on my machine and I finished all the seams on my serger. I did top stitch the hem, but just with a very large stitch because my plan is to probably tonight sew in front of the TV and hem it by hand. I finished it last night and I had to go to bed. So, because I do some silly things when I sew and be sleepy. It's just not wise. At any rate, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I wanted to say about it? I don't think so, except that I love it. I love it. I love it. And I envision wearing this a lot this summer. Now, I hope to be back next Tuesday with Make 4 of my Make 9 2024. And like last time, I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm debating between 2 ideas, and I have no idea. We'll see where my mood takes me. But I do want to be back on Tuesday. Now, the last couple weeks, I've said to you that I'd be here for Friday Sews, and I haven't done it. And mainly that's because I haven't sewn that much because I've been spending a lot of time with my grandchildren, trying to help out my daughter and son-in-law with their 2 kids under 2. And it's exhausting, but wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But consequently, I'm too tired to really sew when I get home. So I haven't been doing a lot. I have done a little bit more. So I do have stuff that I could show you on Friday if I get my act together. So my plan, my hope is to be here on Friday for Friday Sews and to definitely be here on Tuesday for my fourth make of my Make 9 2024. Woo! So I will link everything below, including my fabric. Well, I'll link the patterns. The Atelier Jupe Zoey is still out and about. The McCall 7757 is out of print, but there are a couple sellers online that have it, so I will link that below. I will link the French seam. I will link Kokka fabric, and I think that's all I've talked about. I'll watch this again and see if I talked about any. Oh, and I'll link Michelle from Michelle Sews again, because that's how I learned how to make resin buttons, and I love them and I want to make more. In fact, I had some pink ones with silver in them that I had made that I wanted to use on this blouse, but like I say, I just didn't have enough fabric. But this is, I should say, my favorite of my Make 9 makes so far. And I've liked all of my Make 9 makes, so that's saying something. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully I'll be back on Friday. Definitely I'll be back on Tuesday with something. And thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Bye.